Колеги, ми продовжуємо робочий день, і у нас наразі...
Colleagues, we continue the roundtable, and we will have a roundtable activities of the delegation of Polish Academy of Sciences in Kiev. Please speak normally because we do a simultaneous translation. I give the floor to Oksana Belyakova, who is an advisor and advisor to the director of the PAS delegation in Kiev. Good morning. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the members of the Presidium who found time to come and to support this discussion.
Хочу зазначити, що
I would like to say that we have Polish, Russian, and Ukrainian languages as working languages, and it's up to you because the director Sobczuk will probably speak in Polish, and I will translate, and then everybody will use the language which is convenient. And I invite the director to begin. I would like to welcome all honorable guests here. Representatives of Polish embassy in Ukraine. Anna Kuzma. Anatoly, Vice President of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine, Director of the Borys, Director of the State Fund for Fundamental Research. Mrs. Sydorenko, who is the Vice-Rector on Foreign Relations at National Technical University.
проректором Київського політехнічного інституту.
And all who are with us. I would like to inform you about the history of presence of Polish Academy of Sciences in Ukraine. The office was founded at the base of a signed agreement between the head of Ukrainian Academy of Sciences, Mr. Borys, and the head of Polish Academy of Polish Sciences, Mr. Kleiber. It works for 2 years in Kiev, and also there is a Ukrainian Academy of Ukrainian Sciences. Sciences is preparing to be opened. The main goal of the Office of Polish Academy of Sciences is cooperation, technical and scientific, with between Ukraine and Poland. Organize contacts between Ukrainian and Polish scientists, organize conferences, and seminars, meetings, and we invite Polish scientists for Ukraine to do that. We organize about 50 different activities in 2 years. We organized 13 scientific conferences last year. This year, 11, and until the end of the year is planned to have 20 of them. These conferences present different sectors of science, starting with technical and up to humanitarian and law sciences. All these activities are focused at improvement of contacts between Polish and Ukrainian scientists. The main goal of which, in our opinion, is an opportunity to get financing from EU through signing between universities and institutes additional agreements. Without real contacts that support representatives of Ukrainian and Polish science, it's impossible to get such additional support, financial support. Our activity is great interest in not only of Ukrainian scientists, not only in Kyiv, but also in Lviv and Rivno and in Kiev. That's why we held the conferences. These meetings were organized in order to express an opinion as to further cooperation and to find the ways how to fund scientific programs through the cost from Europe and up to 2020. That program is called Horizon 2014-2020. Thank you very much.
And now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Anatoly Zahorodny for him to tell us a few words about the cooperation with the Polish Academy of Sciences in Kiev and Director Mr. Sobczuk, and whether you have plans for future. You're welcome. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to mention that scientific cooperation with the Polish Academy of Sciences is one of the strategic priorities of international cooperation of the National Academies of Sciences of Ukraine. And this is related to the fact that we have good scientific relations established during the recent years, as it was mentioned by Mr. Director, Professor Sobczuk, in 1998. We have signed an agreement on cooperation between our academies, and this very agreement have created fundamentals for expansion of our cooperation. The previous year, presidents of our academies, Mr. Patton and President of the Polish Academy have signed an additional protocol. It took place in December in Kiev. And this protocol foresees implementation of 68 joint projects. 39 institutes of Ukraine will participate in such projects, and totally over 60 institutes of our country have contacts with our colleagues. Our cooperation pertains to both natural sciences and humanitarian sciences, namely we speak about mathematics, physics, geology, chemistry, geochemistry, as well as land and culture study. A lot is done in that direction, and I see huge perspectives in these directions, and no doubt we are happy that the delegation of the Polish Academy of Sciences in Kyiv is working full-fledgedly and is enhancing cooperation between Ukrainian and Polish colleagues, and it pertains to different areas of science. We as a National Academy of Sciences feel the need of parity actions. What do I mean? We have to create a full-fledged delegation of our academy in Warsaw. So far, due to different circumstances, conditions, including economic conditions, we may not do it swiftly, but we have started doing first steps. The National Academy of Ukraine has delegated its representative, Mr. Litvin, who is director of the Ukrainian Culture Institute in Lviv, and due to his scientific interests, Professor Litvin carries out plenty of visits to Poland, and during the next visit, we believe he'll be officially represented in the Polish Academy of Sciences. Besides, he has an advisor. He constantly stays in Warsaw, and we believe he'll be the main contact person. I understand this is not enough, but it's better than nothing. This is just the first step. And I would like to mention that we really had an opportunity to use the services of the delegation of the Polish Academy of Sciences in Kyiv, and part of the conferences held in Kyiv, held in Lviv, were supported by the delegation, and I see this as a huge step forward, a huge perspective, and we on our side will try to do our best to act, so to say, symmetrically. And namely now the issue of founding or launching the scientific readings in Warsaw are discussed in Lviv. In Lviv, such readings are often organized, which attract scientists. It is carried out in Stefanik Library in Lviv. And now we have this idea to launch the same readings, the same presentations in Warsaw, and I believe we can do that. That is realistic and feasible. I would also like to mention that we use new forms, and we are extremely grateful to the Polish Academy of Sciences for the idea to launch the competition of joint works. We had such a competition the previous year, and there was very good work which received the first prize. It pertains to cosmic studies, and the winner was from Space Institute in Kharkiv. And representatives of this institute were awarded with the first prize, but I would like to mention that that was a serious contest, and a range of works represented there were really strong, and they really deserved to win the first prize. But there was just one award, and we have to choose the work I've mentioned. We hope, and I express my gratitude to Mr. Professor Sobczuk for an offer to join our efforts in order to actively attract Ukrainian scientists to 2020 Horizon program. That is indeed a problem for Ukrainian scientists. We had several projects within the European programs. So we participated in other competitions where we acted jointly with our Polish colleagues, but the results were not really favorable. But now we speak about the associate membership of Ukraine in the 2020 Horizon program, and support on the side of Polish colleagues and Polish Academy of Sciences will be helpful for us. We'll ask for support within the European level in order to be able to implement the joint projects, Ukrainian and Polish projects. And I believe this project will be winning first prizes. And I believe we have good perspective in this respect. No doubt, we will cooperate, we will develop our cooperation in the directions I've mentioned. There are plenty of other direction areas, because as I've mentioned, 60 institutes with different specialties participate in this cooperation, are interested in it, and it gives us hope that the cooperation will be fruitful, and the role granted to the Polish Academy of Sciences is very important. We are starting feeling that. I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Director, Mr. Sobczuk, for his active position, for his support, and totally, generally, to all my Polish colleagues for cooperation.
Thank you very much. I hope that our next speakers will have a lot of interesting thoughts about how it was happening and how it will happen. Cooperation between these academies of sciences. Borys, Mr. Borys, thank you very much for. I would like to thank the organizer that invited me to participate in this event. Unfortunately, State Agency on Science, Informatization, and Innovations of Ukraine was renamed, and in fact, it was just shut down a year ago in June. Now I am a director of the State Fund of Fundamental Research of Ukraine and State Fund of Fundamental Research of Ukraine also joined, and it's in the sphere of interest of Polish Academy of Sciences of Ukraine, because we have joint activities, and one of them will be this October. And Polish Academy very quickly responded to our proposals, and they sent a delegation, Polish delegation, that will participate in our activity. That event is very important for our country, because now there is a reform in science of Ukraine. An experience Polish Academy has, Polish science has, where reforms happened more than 20 years ago. It's very important for us, for science of Ukraine. That's why this issue will be discussed at that international conference this October. We started the state fund. Worked a bit before that. We signed several agreements with Poland, but unfortunately, the funding of the Institute of Fundamental Research is very small, is very limited, and compared to those who are present here, that's why we cannot support cooperation on the decent bilateral cooperation with some countries, as it should be for our country. Thank you for your attention. I hope the situation will improve every day. And please, Serhiy Sydorenko, share your experience of cooperation. Maybe it's something that we don't know. Thank you. We are grateful to Polish Academy of Sciences for the invitation, and let me introduce our experience, our impressions, and some proposals in relation to our cooperation with Polish Academy in Kyiv. I represent Kyiv Politechnical Institute and Ukrainian Polish Center that is a part of a structure of a university since 2008. And I wanted first of all to mention that cooperation with Poland has deep historic roots. At the beginning of our history, since 1898, when by the decree of Olena Kotlyar II, the 3 polytechnical universities were founded. In Poland, Polish was, and Kiev was, and St. Petersburg. So that history began from that period when many students from Kyiv Polytechnic graduated from Warsaw Polytechnic University, and quite the opposite. Students are from Polish high-tech schools. They graduated from Kyiv universities. And one bright example I would like to use, and in 1906, our graduate student professor Wojciech Swiatosławski was rector of Warsaw Polytechnica, and the minister of education at the time. And then he was nominated twice for the Nobel Prize. And we unveiled a monument to Swiatosławski, to people who brings peoples of Poland and Ukraine together. That's a reflection of those big traditions that those who before us they developed in Ukrainian-Polish cooperation. Ukrainian-Polish Center was founded not only for Kyiv Polytechnical Institute, but in general for the development and to give some speed in cooperation between Ukraine and Poland. And as an example that it works efficiently, that mechanism, I wanted to remind that in 2008 we had the first forum of rectors of Poland and Ukraine. In 2014 in Lviv, there was the second forum like that. So in the second one, a representative Polish Academy of Sciences from Kyiv, they participated, we remember that, and we hope that such forums will work. And the next one even will be in Frankivsky, and representatives of Polish Academy will participate actively. I would like to emphasize this on our cooperation with Polish Academy of Sciences in Kyiv. It started from the with Professor Sobczuk and Polytechnica. We attentively build our cooperation together with National Academy of Sciences. And in March 2013, there was a meeting of the presidiums with the participation of Mr. Zahorodny, Professor Sobczuk, Kyiv Polytechnica, and we agreed on strategic issues and about cooperation that it's a part of the work of Polish Academy of Sciences, conferences about pure water, fundamental issues, and industrial innovation project. And that conference becomes international. It's attractive for the scientists of Europe, and of course, although that is done together with the National Academy of Sciences. For example, international seminars on computer construction of materials. Same. Just recently there was an international conference on renewable energy. All of that is done together with the support of Polish Academy and with the participation of National Academy of Sciences. So we believe that not only strategic development or cooperation, but many directions, training, and others. Poland is our strategic direction, but what is important in this, that is our cooperation, which improved even the last years with the Office of the Science. Just for the future, we would like to suggest to think how to support and to build a consortium of scientists of Ukraine, from the university system and academic system, and scientists of Poland, in order to strengthen participation in European programs. We are very interested in the issue of innovation projects of our country, and including Kyiv Polytechnica, and we want to get to international business, and that's why we could work together and towards Poland too. It's very important to have programs on scientific mobility and double or dual programs, and the programs that I called it trilateral diploma with the participation of other countries. For example, when there was a forum dedicated to 25 years of Chernobyl on the base of our university, then we planned cooperation between Poland, Japan, Ukraine, and our university systems. We wanted, in the end, to express thanks to Professor Sobczuk for initiatives for such activity, to Polish Embassy in Ukraine, to the Ambassador of Poland, Henryk, you, Mrs. Kuzma, you always a frequent guest in our university and takes care of all the activities which are part of our technical education. And so I would like to thank academicians Zahorodny, Gryniov, and I would like to thank you for invitation.
Thank you so much, Serhiy Ivanovich, and let me step aside from the official side of our program and give the floor to my colleague, Mr. Andriy Belochenko, who together with me received Catland and we received this very chance to develop our own lives. Mr. Andriy will tell us about the situation with defending the thesis in Poland and then approval or certification of this diploma here in Ukraine. I believe this topic is quite interesting and quite topical. And in order to implement this cooperation to the fullest extent, we have to understand in what way all the technological processes take place regarding legalization of diploma, of European diploma here in Ukraine. Andriy Mykolaievich, the floor is yours. Hello, esteemed colleagues. It was emphasized by Oksana Hennadyevna. I studied within the Kirkland program in Poland back in 2001-2002, and I studied in Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznań. And I would like to briefly mention you that this very study was really important for me, for my career, because right after coming back to Ukraine, I defended thesis here in Ukraine. I'm a candidate of economic sciences, and I worked in different authorities, in different structures, both state and private. Currently, I'm a public servant, so to say. Andriy Mykolaievich, please not give us your biography, but be more specific. Okay, and coming back to those issues which were highlighted here, I would like to mention that I personally encountered a problem of legalization of diploma, but I tried to legalize Ukrainian diploma in Poland. For that purpose, I underwent an appropriate procedure of legalization. I have also managed to use that very agreement, the so-called Prague Convention, which was in place up to 2006. And due to that very agreement, I've managed to legalize my diploma of candidate of economic sciences in Poland. Also, I received an appropriate certificate from the Ministry of Education of the Republic of Poland. And as far as I know, the reverse project is very complicated. I speak about legalization of Polish diplomas in Ukraine. The process is quite complicated so far, and it requires nostrification. For that purpose, it is necessary to address the Ministry of Science of Ukraine and the Ministry of Education of Ukraine. So far, the procedure is very complicated, and there are separate structures by the ministry engaged in legalization. But we have strong hopes that new law on education in Ukraine, on higher education in Ukraine, which was considered by the parliament so far at the first reading, that this very law will simplify the procedure under consideration. Thank you so much, Mr. Andriy, and I think it would be of interest, it would be an interesting direction of cooperation with the Polish Academy of Sciences to be engaged in the process of assistance in this respect, in nostrification, legalization, if you have such an opportunities. And now I would like Mr. Director, Professor Sobczuk, to crown our meeting, to summarize it. I'd like you to tell us about plans on our next event. And I would like to invite all present here and other partners of ours to work jointly on our next meeting, which is to take place in autumn this year, and it aims at signing definite provisions between Ukrainian and Polish institutions in order to receive additional financing within the Horizon 2020 program. We would like to invite the most active representatives of the Polish side, of the Polish part, who participate in granting additional finances. In order to have contacts, to establish contacts with Ukrainian partners. In order to organize the consortiums, which would include not only representatives of Polish and Ukrainian side, but also representatives from other countries. This event is planned to be organized in October this year in Kyiv, and we strongly hope that today participants of the round table will help us arranging this very event. And I would like to emphasize that all those events and all those activities carried out by the Polish Academy of Sciences of Ukraine would be impossible without support of the Embassy of Poland in Ukraine, without Anna Kuzma. And I would ask you to express our gratitude to Plenipotentiary Mr. Ambassador. And thank you so much. I would like to address all those present, whether you have questions, comments. We are also grateful to you that you came, that you have found time, that you invest your soul and your heart, that this is not just a formal cooperation, but that this is real friendship. And namely, friendship helps us do miracles. And we hope that in future our cooperation will be even more intensively developing and will bring appropriate fruits. Thank you so much for presence here, for participation, and we expect to see you here next time.